Hey there and welcome. My name is Carlos Berles. In this video, we are going to talk about how to not be as much passive when you are role playing or playing any kind of tabletop RPG. Ask yourself that. How many times the PCs are just there passively waiting for someone to come and hire them, or even to have something happen to them, like they are just chilling when an aristocrat approaches them to hire them, or the common trope of someone approaching them at the moment they arrive at a new town. You know, the classics. You are trapped in some place, you are here because of this and that you were transported here, you were hired. Most adventures begin like that, and it's not that bad to have it in order to start a story. Like, first session. The issue is when it becomes something more permanent. I mentioned how players should pull their own weight, you can check it out, but it was more general thing. Now we are passing towards a specific issue of PCs being extremely passive. And let's go by steps here. As usual, let me clarify that what I understand by the word. So what I mean by passive is waiting to have an action to prompt them to act. I believe this one was clear, but better safe than sorry. Now, plenty of you might be thinking that it is the case because DPCs never thought about goals to their characters, and they just do not have an aim if nothing is presented to them. But the issue is that even when this is not the case, players tend to wait for the story to be presented to them and for the story to happen to them. You might want to say that we as players, plenty of times, are either concerned in not derailing the GM's preparation and adventures, and also not stepping over the story of other PCs, but it ends up making us passive to the world at large. But this is just one reason that it might happen. I can't say why this behavior, the passiveness, happens in other times, but it does happen, and it happened to me in the player seat as well. The big game for me in playing a tabletop RPG is the freedom of action, okay? While keeping the suspension of disbelief. This is something that if you do not know what I mean by suspension of disbelief, I have a video about it, you can check it out. But if I just react to what happens, how does it differ actually that much from a quick time event in an electronic game? So we are trying to bring a character-driven game at this point, and I believe that other PCs would be on the same vibe, focusing the stories around the characters. A lot of praise was directed towards Critical Role first season, precisely for that, for instance. But the thing is that it's not just a game master's issue if you, as a player, do not follow through. If you do not actively seek it, I had a player in the One Ring RPG game to ask at almost every encounter if it was a dragon or a dragon-like creature, and if there was any clue of it, and they kept looking for and hunting dragons in Third Age Middle Earth, to the point of it becoming an internal joke, almost a meme. By the way, for the unfamiliar, Middle Earth Third Age is famously known by not having a lot of dragons still around. Basically, only Smog is officially mentioned. But the player's action were because his character was focused on seeking vengeance against dragons. Yeah, they prompted it over and over again. I never had to, as a GM, play that role of triggering them. And it shows engagement by the players and interest in the story and the world. We talked about creating backstories. You can check it out. And how important they are to flesh out characters. But just as important it is to follow through, because, as said, the passive approach can even be valid to kick off a campaign or group and put everyone together. But later, it is important for PCs to be more active. To be absolutely frank here, passive characters are not bad. You can have great stories with passive characters. As Colville says, John McClane is pretty much passive in Die Hard, the most of the film, and it is not a bad movie or story, and you can have passive characters if this is your vibe. But if you want the GM to have characters centered stories, don't expect them to basically hijack you towards it. If it gets due to always have the villain break a wall and kidnap someone or something important to one of the PCs. Yeah, they will act, but at what cost? A lot is discussed about railroading, and there are plenty of valid criticisms here, and it's a discussion that is too long for this one, it's for a further video. But it's tough for the GM to not feel like they are railroading you if you only react to what happens to their character. If you only act when you are pushed over a tree, or if you are pushed against the wall. And if you are having fun, at least this is a positive side. One positive side. Otherwise, probably no side is having fun. And if you feel that you are proposing creative solutions and ideas out of the box, go with it. In case the GM, narrator, etc. is just always shutting you down with no apparent reason, perhaps it is railroading, and perhaps it is just confrontational. And either way, I advise you to, as a first step, to talk to them and let them know about it. But this time I am talking more with the PC. So another further point is to us as players to only focus on our character sheets. Not every answer is there, and you are absolutely right in saying that for someone with only a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But if we want the experience of creation and freedom from RPGs, although they depend on system, the difference from RPGs that we cannot get with board games and war games is the freedom. And we need to propose more and think of solutions, not about just using abilities. Let the GM decide what and if any roll is necessary. And not rolling dice is just as if not even more important than rolling dice in some opportunities. This way, you as a player is driving the action locally. But if we want to drive the action or story in general, don't just wait. Remember the Dragon Obsessed card before? They try to go towards the player's goals. Just having goals is not enough if you are not acting on them, because behaving them and not trying to go towards it and not make it active, that is why the number one advice of just make them have goals and ties, stories, or something they care about is not enough. Because just having it and not acting does not change it. We as players need to absorb them, and this way we do not overburden the GM with coming up with next steps or having to look the group in every session. Because with great powers comes great responsibilities, right? So both your character has the responsibility to go towards what they want because they are clearly powerful, and you have the responsibility of being active in the game, since you have this freedom of action and you want a character-driven game. Now, there are some games that do it in specific ways, some having a pseudo session zero in the beginning of each adventure, allowing the players to shape how the adventure will be, and thus providing more space and tools for the players to create and to extort their goals, or even some that allow kinds of retcons or changes in reality during the game, so that they can better engage with the characters. I believe that it is a very interesting challenge on the side of game development. We can explore it in a myriad of ways, but we also need to think about that it's still a great responsibility for the player. If they want character-driven games, but also the ones that cry against generic adventure and so on, we need to act. And I've seen this point discussed more than once and with people on both sides of the argument, whether characters should be more active or reactive. I gave you my opinion, now you can perhaps make an informed choice, but neither extreme is actually good in this. And also keep in mind that active character does not mean just stepping over other players and such. Tabletop RPG is a social event and a social hobby after all, so treat it like that. As a disclaimer, a lot of the inspiration for this video came from a thread in Twitter that I saw by Ruby. You can check in the description, there is a link for the thread. I also now have a weekly show every Friday reviewing what went by in the indie tabletop RPG scene. If this interests you, give it a look. I will put the link there. And apart from it, I believe that's it. If you like the video, like the damn video, share, subscribe. You know how internet works. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. So, see ya!